Tensions in the Middle East have surged, particularly in Gaza, Lebanon and Yemen. In Gaza, Israel's military operations continue unabated despite international calls for a ceasefire, resulting in severe humanitarian consequences. The violence has spread to Lebanon, where Israeli forces are violating ceasefire agreements, and to Yemen, where Israeli airstrikes are targeting Houthi positions. This escalating, multifaceted conflict raises urgent concerns about regional stability and the suffering of civilians caught in the crossfire. This special coverage delves into the complexities of these interconnected crises, their humanitarian impact, and the challenges they pose to international diplomacy in the region. I'm Hani Saif, and join us as we examine the latest developments and their profound effect on the lives of millions across the region. We'll start off with the World Health Organization, the WHO, which has reported that 75,000 Palestinians are trapped in northern Gaza, with their lives at risk. The occupation army continues to destroy the infrastructure of hospitals in Gaza, particularly in the northern region. Israeli forces have focused their attacks on Qamar Adwan Hospital, which was set on fire, and they forced patients and healthcare staff to evacuate under threat of gunfire. The Israeli occupation army has destroyed the healthcare system in northern Gaza following the arrest of the director and staff of Qamar Adwan Hospital. The military operation rendered the region's last major health facility non-operational. Civil defense spokesperson Mahmoud Bassal stated that the arrests of medical staff and civil defense leaders have crippled Gaza's medical and humanitarian infrastructure. The Israeli army also carried out a targeted operation against a Hamas command center at the hospital, arresting over 240 individuals. Meanwhile, Israel is advancing operations in Beit Hanun and other northern Gaza areas. Qnews has highlighted weekly protests in Tel Aviv calling on the Israeli government to finalize a deal with the Palestinian resistance to secure the release of detainees in Gaza. Mediation efforts by the United States, Egypt and Qatar reportedly brought both sides closer to a ceasefire after 14 months of conflict. Protesters also criticized Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, accusing him of prioritizing political survival over the recovery of detainees. Gaza's health ministry reports that over 45,000 Palestinians have been killed, including many women and children, amid extensive displacement and destruction caused by the Israeli occupation forces' ongoing offensive. Israeli media has reported that Israel is considering extending its military presence in southern Lebanon beyond the 60-day period agreed upon in the ceasefire, citing concerns over Hezbollah potentially taking control of the region amid the weakened presence of Israeli forces. The report added that Israel has raised the possibility of maintaining a military presence in Lebanese territory during recent high-level political and security talks. The Jerusalem Post has reported that Israel is preparing to intensify its military campaign against Yemen's Houthis, increasing intelligence gathering and airstrikes, according to N12. The campaign could disrupt international flights at Ben Gurion Airport and lead to more missile launches from Yemen towards Israel. The Israeli occupation forces have already struck Houthi military infrastructure, including smuggling routes for Iranian weapons, with a significant operation targeting Sana'a airport. The strikes are reportedly coordinated with the US and the UK. Israel is also considering operations in Iran amid ongoing discussions about potentially targeting Iranian nuclear facilities. The broader campaign aims to increase pressure on the Houthis, signaling a shift in Israel's approach to the conflict in Yemen. And for more analysis on these latest updates, we're joined by Professor Dr. Abdel Nasser Miki, the political science professor from Ramallah, and Brigadier General Baha Halal, a strategic military expert from Beirut. Gentlemen, welcome to Qnews. We'll start off with Gaza. Dr. Miki, how has the international community responded to the ongoing military operations and attacks on the healthcare facilities in Gaza?
I think the Israeli is going ahead with their military, that campaign in Gaza. They finish their campaign in Jabalia, and after that to Beit Lahia. And also they destroy the Kamal Adwan hospital. They burn him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after that, I think now we are talking about think also in Beit Hanun, now the Israeli troops is going to the new campaign in Beit Hanun. And after they finish, I think the north of Gaza will be isolated from Gaza city and the south of Gaza. So the Israeli military is continue to destroy and also killing the people there, regardless the starvation, regardless the cold, the weather, and also regardless that there is no any assistance is entering Gaza. The international community, I don't think that they are doing anything. It's just they are watching and they are condemned and they are saying that about these crimes without doing anything to stop the Israeli from going with these crimes.
Mm-hmm. Brigadier General Halal, now, what specific new conditions imposed by Israel are causing the delays in the prisoner exchange agreement with Hamas?
Everybody. In fact, the prisoner release or the hostage release agreement between Hamas and the Israeli enemy is going as usual. Netanyahu is just trying to save time or is just trying to prolong this process as much as he could in order for him to be able to prolong the war. And in fact, in the beginning, he agreed to imposing some truces, but right now he is hiding behind some conditions. Like, for instance, he wants to receive the names of the living hostages that are taken hostage by Hamas, and Hamas is not going to do that. And he made an impediment out of this and an obstacle out of this in order for him to halt the negotiations with Hamas.
Well, Dr. Miki, do the ongoing negotiations for a ceasefire and prisoner exchange reflect the broader humanitarian crisis in Gaza? And if they do have some sort of a reflection or affect the humanitarian crisis, how so?
That's from the negotiation, maybe from before 1 month, as we discussed this here also. We said that there is a negotiation and there is like agreement, the deal agreement. But I think now everything is changed because, as you know, there is like a problem in this negotiation and there is no agreement until now. There is meeting in Doha between the Israeli before 1 week and also the Palestinian today went to Doha and they met also with some of Qatar and that's ministries. But at the end, Hamas said that it's flexible for continue negotiation with Israeli, while the Israeli Hamas said that Israeli changed their, that opinion before, and now they are more restrictive. As Netanyahu said that he want to first of all to know about the names of the prisoners, the hostages, Israeli hostages, and after that he didn't, that even discuss the Palestinian prisoners' names. So, and also about the withdrawal from Gaza, there are some problems, difficulty here and here. And this is also will influence on the humanitarian, aids in Gaza, because until now, no border is opening for the assistance. The people is suffering from the starvation. The people suffering from the cold. About 110,000 tents have been, that destroyed. So now the people is under the sky, the weather is too cold, there is raining tomorrow. It's catastrophic there, and I think it's like a disaster for the people there. Until now, the international community is not response, even not response. I definitely he's not response to provide the people with assistance, because now the people is suffering. Many of the children died from the cold. Many of the children died from the starvation. So unless there is, that assistance, and this assistance should be soon, immediately, I think many people, many children will die from the weather, which is bad tomorrow and after tomorrow.
5 children have already died of the cold. Now, Brigadier General Halal, what are the implications of Hamas's demands for an end to the military operations and withdrawal of the Israeli forces on future negotiations?
I believe that the main impediment is not really the conditions of Hamas and what they are requesting right now. In fact, Hamas before agreed to some negotiations, and the most recent of which was the Biden's proposition that Hamas actually, I would say, subdued to. And that was before al-Sinwar was assassinated. In fact, at this point, Biden has put a proposal forward, and Hamas was on board with it. In fact, at this point, the mediators all the mediators, the Turkish, the Qatari, and the Egyptian mediators agreed to engage in this American proposal. And we found that Blinken decided to meet with Netanyahu in order to get his approval. And after all the mediators and after Netanyahu supposedly agreed on the American proposal as well, proposed by Blinken, we found the next day that Netanyahu is going back on his word and is betraying his promise, as usual. In fact, Hamas agreed to a cessation of fire, and as well, Hamas agreed to a hostage exchange agreement with Israel. So Hamas is not really arbitrary in its ways. It is Israel that is. And I would like to remind the world that when Netanyahu was fighting on one front and was trying to eradicate Hamas, and at this point he was still trying to impede the negotiations. So right now we can only imagine how arbitrary he's going to be in his ways when it comes to impeding the negotiations right now, after he thinks that he has won a lot of ground. In fact, not just in Palestine, but in Syria as well, specifically after the ouster of Assad's regime. Netanyahu thinks that he is winning right now, and he has cut the supply chain, feeding the pillars of the resistance of the axis of resistance. In fact, Netanyahu colonized some areas in Syria all the way to Daraa. And right now, Netanyahu is doing and creating offensives right now in Yemen as well, and is doing a lot of military operations there in order to even win more ground in the region.
Well, Dr. Mickey, let us move on to Lebanon. Now, in light of Israel's consistent violations of the ceasefire, what steps can the international community, particularly the United Nations, take to hold Israel accountable for its actions? Do current peacekeeping efforts need to be strengthened?
Yes, I think United States of America should also push in Israel, and also France, which is one, that of the correspondent of the peace agreement, and for the agreement between Lebanon, and also between Hezbollah and between Israel. So I think Israeli violated about 300 times against Lebanon. So I think the United States of America should interfere strongly and impose in Israel to stop all these violations in order not to go to the escalate the area once again, because Hezbollah didn't violate and Hezbollah didn't make any escalation, while Israeli is want to continue to attack Lebanon here and here, and they are violated, that the agreement. So I think the United States of America should interfere here and should impose and force Israel to commitment for the ceasefire. That United States of America and Trump also, when he has come to the administration, I think they have another agenda. So I think United States of America in the era of Trump, he will impose on Israel to stop the violation and to be commitment with the ceasefire with Lebanon, because as you know, now they have another agenda like China and Taiwan and like Ukraine war and Russia. So, and also to stop the war in Gaza. And also Trump will focus on the internal issues inside the United States of America, like the economic, the situation, and he didn't want to go ahead with any war, and also with the Iranian file with the nuclear weapon. So yes, the United States of America should interfere and should strongly impose in Israel to be commitment.
Mm-hmm. Brigadier General Halel, now with Israel continuing breaching the ceasefire agreement deep inside the Lebanese territory, what are the political and security implications for Lebanon? How does this shift the dynamics on the ground? What should Lebanon do, and how do you expect it to respond? Mm-hmm. We seem to have lost Brigadier General Halel. Now, Dr. Mickey, the question goes to you then. With all these consistent Israeli violations of the ceasefire, how does this reflect on Lebanon? What does Lebanon need to do? How should it react?
I think Lebanon should react now after the Syrian, that's crisis, and after the falling of the Bashar Assad regime. Now for Lebanon and also for the agreement, they should commitment to the agreement, and they should request from France and United States of America to interfere and to impose on the Israel to commitment to the ceasefire. That now the Lebanese army will displace, that's on the south part of Lebanon, and there is no justification for the Israeli to attack Lebanon, because the Hezbollah is not attacking Israel, and also there is a calm there from the Lebanon side and from Hezbollah. So I think the only things that Lebanon do, the government, is to go to the United Nations and also to request from the America and to France, which are the correspondents to the agreement, to interfere and to impose on Israel to stop the attacking Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. And how does this delay in the Israeli withdrawal impact the overall stability of southern Lebanon during the ceasefire period, especially that Israel has cited a weakened force in southern Lebanon right now?
Yes, I think for this matter, I think this should be يعني, what you're asking. The question is that could you again just repeat again about the question?
Yes, now Israel has cited a weakened force presence in southern Lebanon, and that's why they are still violating the ceasefire agreement. Is this a good enough reason, and how do you think Lebanon should take such a reason?
Even that, I think even the existing of Israel in the South Lebanon in some area, and they didn't withdraw. I think the Lebanon should, it will influence negatively on the ceasefire because there will be like tension there. When Israel is just going there and they occupied some of the Lebanon, that's villages there, it will be influenced negatively on the ceasefire. I don't think that it will be good uh, for the even the Israeli because there will be just tension there, and maybe they will be response from Hezbollah. They will not stop, that's forever,
Mhm.
just to be attentive from Israel and to do nothing. I think the United States of America and the France should interfere in this also and impose and force Israeli to withdraw from this area.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue our discussion now around the latest developments in Yemen, and we have reconnected with Brigadier General Halel. We got him back on the line now. Sir, how has the U.S. Central Command, the CENTCOM, justified its military actions against the Houthis in Yemen?
تبرر الحكومة الأمريكية يقصد الحكومة
Yeah.
الأمريكية تبرر العمليات العسكرية ضد اليمن؟
نعم.
ألو ألو اليوم العدو الإسرائيلي
In fact, now the Israeli enemy,
بما فعله في غزة
after,
وبالتالي يعتبر
or the Israeli army, after what they have done in Gaza, they think that right now they they were able to neutralize their Hamas front. As well, they think that they have neutralized as well the resistance in Lebanon and its forces
خلال 60 يوم بعمليات
through ratifying this ceasefire agreement. And in the midst of all that, we find that the Israelis are not really abiding to the ceasefire agreement. Same thing is happening in Syria. And so the colonization of Jabal Sheikh Observatory and even the rural areas of Damascus, these matters, these scenes right now represent the Israelis neutralizing, as I'm saying, these fronts, and the resistance axis should be, in fact, in close cooperation in its combat against the Israelis. That's something we all know, and that's something they were trying to do. But the Israelis, once more, were able to neutralize these fronts and to liquidate their forces.
Yes. Well, Dr. Miki, one final question because we're running out of time now. What role are the United States and the United Kingdom playing in Israel's campaign against the Houthis, according to the recent reports? What are their main objectives?
I think the American and the Britain also, British there, they are the vital and the main important role is to assist to Israel and to support Israel, attacking Houthi because they have their ships there and also all the aircraft, that's there. So they are close to the port, to the Yemen, while Israeli is far about maybe 2,000 kilos. So I think they are the major role for them is to support Israel and to also, like in the spies, watching the ports and they have the airplane there. They also could, that attacking the ports there. They could also attacking the economic, that places in Yemen, like also the petroleum centers and also the electricity energy station. I
Yes.
think they are playing a vital and important role to support Israel and give them also the information for Israel to attack Yemen.
Yes. Dr. Abdel Nasser Miki, the political science professor, and Brigadier General Baha Halal, the strategic military expert. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Q News. And that brings us to the end of this special coverage for now, and we will be joined later on by more guests and another special coverage later on in the day. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more here on Q News.